It's Monday night, and we're sharpening our takes. You're tuned into The Cut, hosted by Thomas Robb.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us here at another edition of The Cut. It is Monday, March 10th in the year of our Lord, 2025. I am blessed to be here another day with all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in with us. Thank you to all the fans. Thank you to the fantastic production of Mr. Anthony Oquendo in the background over there, making sure we got everything that we need at all times to bring you just the best sports show in Ashtabula County, baby. Thank you very much to all of you who make all of this possible. And speaking of making things possible, I want to do a little shout out to a business this evening. Let's shout out K Cuts. K Cuts, the barber out here in Ashtabula, dog. K Cuts, Caleb McKinney. You can find him on Instagram at K Cuts Official. That's KKUTZ Official Instagram, or you can hit him up at 440-661-2221. He's going to give you a fresh cut every time. I personally haven't gotten a haircut from him, but my producer did just recently get a haircut from him, and he said it was hot fire. So, and Anthony looks pretty good today. No homo. But just wanted to shout out K-Cuts for getting my boy right. And, hey, friend of the show, Caleb McKinney, thank you very much for doing all the business you do out here, giving back to the community like you do. If you guys are looking for a great haircut, give him a call at 440-661-2221 or hit him up on Instagram at KKUTZ Official. That's K-Cuts Official. All right, so we have a loaded show for you guys tonight. It's gonna be a wild show, because when I had talked to you guys about the show last week, I said that we were gonna be previewing the American League for baseball, and that is still happening. But I gotta shout out a couple things that happened over the past couple days, man. Let's talk real quick about Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets. The first 30, 20, and 20 stat line ever registered in NBA history. As the Denver Nuggets went on to win their game, Nikola Jokic, the big man, the big point center, leading candidate in my mind for MVP in the NBA, Nikola Jokic puts up a 30, 20, and 20 stat line this past weekend to power his Denver Nuggets to a win. NFL free agency started. Well, the legal tampering period started today, but moves started to get made yesterday. We got Devontae Adams heading to the Rams. We've got DK Metcalf getting traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We got Myles Garrett, who drugged the Cleveland Browns through the mud since right before the Super Bowl. Just got awarded with the richest contract in NFL history for a non-quarterback. He signed that yesterday. He's got a $126 million guarantee, and he's going to be making $40 million a year. They always told you growing up that money can't buy happiness. Well, yesterday we all found out that that was a goddamn lie, as Myles Garrett decided he wanted to re-up in Cleveland and be tied to the franchise until 2031. So shout out to Andrew Berry for getting that done and pulling the fleece job of a century over someone's eyes, because not even 36 hours later. Now remember, Myles Garrett said he would stay in Cleveland if they showed him a clear path to a title. Not even 36 hours later, the Cleveland Browns trade a 5th round pick and Dorian Thompson-Robinson to the Philadelphia Eagles for Mr. 1 Kenny Magic Hands Pickett. The man wears 2 gloves on his hands so he can grip a football. Now, in Kenny Pickett's defense, the Browns always said they wanted a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Kenny Pickett was the backup quarterback on the Philadelphia Eagles this past year, who did win a Super Bowl. And Kenny Pickett, I believe, threw a pass in the Super Bowl this year. So the Browns did go out and get their Super Bowl winning quarterback. So maybe Myles Garrett thought they meant Jalen Hurts, but they really went out and got Kenny Pickett. Who can say, really? But yeah, so a lot of crazy stuff happened today in the NFL offseason. Sam Darnold gets the bag and goes out to Seattle after Seattle trades Geno Smith to the Raiders this past weekend and unloads DK Metcalf to the Steelers and releases Tyler Lockett. Now they got Sam Darnold coming in to pair with Jackson Smith and Jigba, an Ohio State Rose Bowl legend, to come in there and lead an offense with Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker behind him. Laramie Tunsil decides that he's not throwing down roots in Houston anymore because the Texans decided that they were going to trade him to the Washington Commanders to protect Jaden Daniels' backside. Guys, the Washington Commanders are going to be so for real right now. It is so disgusting. I can't wait to see what happens with the Commanders this coming season. It is going to be absolutely nuts. So, you guys have followed me all the way through this. I'm excited to get into the MLB season preview with you. We have our great artistry on display in our preview with Aaron Judge, Julio Rodriguez, and Mr. Jose Ramirez. So, let's get right on to it, guys. We're going to start in the American League East. And that American League East is going to... Sorry, guys. I saw something weird on the TV screen there. That American League...
Hold on. Bear with me, Tom. We got some issues. Give me 1 second.
We got issues. I mean, I know I got issues.
Yeah, it shouldn't take me but a second to fix it. Hold on. Just keep talking about that Jokic thing, because that was pretty... That was the first time ever. That's to me is wild.
Yeah, so Nikola Jokic posts the first 30, 20, and 20 stat line in NBA history, and that's super wild. I mean, we have a instance of 30 points, 20 rebounds, 20 assists in one game. Now, to put that in perspective for you guys, a triple-double is pretty rare. So a triple-double, 10 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, anything that's in double digits in 3 separate categories. You usually don't get a 30, 20, and 20 game, even in NBA 2K, but Nikola Jokic came out and did it. Jokic is playing on a team in the Denver Nuggets led by Mike Budenholzer, who just like legitimately are just so centered around their big man and all the different facets that he can bring to that game. And it's really awesome to see, because I believe now, as we go forward into new NBA seasons, we have guys like Victor Wembanyama, Giannis Antetokounmpo, we've got Evan Mobley, Cooper Flagg's coming out, Donovan Klingerman came out last year, the Boozer twins are going to be coming out soon. I think you're going to see a lot more point centers and point forwards in the NBA going forward, and I think Jokic is the newest incarnation of that. LeBron has been a point forward his whole career. Scottie Pippen was a point forward, Tracy McGrady, but never to the level that Nikola Jokic is.
So I know I got everything ready, by the way.
Okay.
But I know there's a lot to get to today, but so much happened since the last time we were here. Even what you've already discussed, not to mention LeBron being out.
Yeah.
Kyrie being out.
Yep.
I mean, wow. It's been a wild week, man. It's been a wild week.
It's been an absolutely wild week. And one of the things that's crazy about that, Anthony, is that it really shows you right now the craziest thing about the NBA, and that the craziest thing about the NBA is that anything can happen at any given time. The Dallas Mavericks traded away Luka Doncic to get Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis gets hurt. Well, now it was okay because you still had Klay Thompson and Kyrie Irving. Well, now Klay Thompson has to pull the biggest carry job of anyone ever. It's going to have to be a biblical proportions in order to even sniff the play-in game. LeBron tears his groin, or has an issue with his groin right now. He's going to be out 1 to 2 weeks, but I really don't think that you can even be concerned because you've got Luka Doncic on the team now. So
I don't know about that.
Luka's
I mean, because
huge.
here's what I mean, after watching the Boston game,
Mhm.
you know, I mean, in my eyes, even though it ended a lot closer than I thought it was going to, Lakers didn't really stand a chance.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. And you know why they didn't stand a chance, Anthony? Because the Lakers don't have dynamic young players like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. They don't have a bench of Derek White, Peyton Pritchard. They don't have the floor-stretching big man of Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford. The Celtics, I think, are as close to a perfect roster construction as you can get outside of the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think the Cavs and the Celtics have two of the most near-perfect rosters in the NBA. Cavs can go 12 deep whenever they need to, and that's awesome. But the Celtics go 8 or 9 deep, but those 4 guys on the bench could start any given night if someone needed rest or something. Like Peyton Pritchard is one of the most unsung players in the NBA. Drew Holiday is one of the most underrated point guards in the NBA. And Tatum and Brown together are just absolute dogs. It's crazy to watch. It's absolutely crazy to watch. I've never really seen the NBA have two almost perfect rosters that are constructed, but you've got it in the Celtics and the Cavs. So let's get into the baseball preview tonight, guys. We got a lot to cover and not a lot of time, so we got to get this covered. So we're going to start with the American League East, and when you start in the American League East, you talk about the Baltimore Orioles. And the Orioles entered the 2025 MLB season with a mix of optimism and challenges. They had a remarkable turnaround from their 110-loss season about 4 years ago. They secured a 91 win record in 2024, earned a wild card berth, and then their postseason run was cut short with a first-round exit to the Kansas City Royals. So what did they do? They acquired Tyler O'Neill. He's an outfielder. He signed a 3-year, $49.5 million contract to bolster the outfield. They went and got Gary Sanchez on a 1-year, $8.5 million deal. They needed experience behind the plate. Tomoyuki Sugano signed a 1-year, $13 million contract, and he introduces the international talent to the pitching staff, guys. They had to post to get him, bid on him on the market, on the international market, and he chose to come to the Orioles, right? Charlie Morton is another pitcher, 1 year, $15 million. Leader, very stable. He's an older guy, but he's been around the league a while and he knows what he's doing. Andrew Kittredge, another pitcher, 1 year, $10 million. Going to be more of your bullpen depth. And then you got Dylan Carson, another outfielder on a very cheap deal, a sub $1 million deal at $975,000 for 1 year. Versatility and potential in the outfield. But you bring these guys in, but you lose quite a bit too, because you lose ace Corbin Burns. Corbin Burns was traded to the Milwaukee Brewers in exchange for left-handed pitcher DL Hall, infielder Joey Ortiz, and a 2024 draft pick. And then Anthony Santander left as a free agent this year and left a significant void in the outfield and lineup. Now, Anthony Santander famously beat cancer a few years ago and is a power hitter, right? Power hitter. And you lose that. But what do you have? Not only did you get these acquisitions, you also have Gunnar Henderson at shortstop, a young talent expected to lead the infield with his dynamic play. Adley Rutschman, who's one of your franchise cornerstones, known for his offensive contributions and leadership. You've got Felix Bautista, the relief pitcher. He is dominant, and he's going to anchor that bullpen. Could even come in as a sixth starter. And then let's not forget the former #1 overall pick of Jackson Holliday. Should be ready to be an everyday MLB player this year. Really excited to see him. So, the Orioles 2025 season is marked by a blend of promising talent and a significant roster turnover. And while the departures of Burns and Santander are going to pose challenges for them, there were very strategic acquisitions which are going to aim to fill the gaps effectively. So like I said, O'Neill, Morton, Kittredge, Sugano, all of them are going to be pivotal in determining the team's direction and competitiveness to the American League East. Okay? Now, the American League East is a very tough division. One of the best in baseball. Right? I am going to go out on a limb here and say that the Orioles don't win 90 games. I think that they win about 87. They go about 87-75 this year, in my opinion. Losing Corbin Burns is just too big of a thing to lose. Tyler O'Neill, while great, I don't believe is going to replicate what Santander left. And Tomoyuki Sagano is just too green for me to really say he's going to have a huge impact. But I do think the Orioles are still competitive. I do think that they sniff a wild card berth, but in the very competitive AL East, I don't know if it's going to be enough. So now we're going to move on to the Boston Red Sox. And the Red Sox enter the 2025 MLB season with a renewed sense of optimism, and they should. They have done a ton of movement this offseason and enhanced their lineup and their pitching staff. So what did they do? They brought in Alex Bregman, a 3-year, $120 million contract. He brings a Gold Glove caliber defense and one of the most potent bats you could hope for to that lineup. Walker Buehler, the man who spat in the face of the New York Yankees as the Dodgers went to win the title. 1 year, $21 million deal. And he has an option for next year. Gonna really bolster that starting rotation, guys. Patrick Sandoval, 2-year contract. Great depth piece. Aroldis Chapman, former Yankee and Cub, go in there and now bolsters the depth on that and might even be the full-time closer with his formidable fastball. Carlos Nevarez, that was a big trade. They shipped, I have in the notes here, they shipped Elmer Rodriguez Cruz and international pool bonus money to the Yankees to get Nevarez. And that's a really rare trade between the Red Sox and Yankees too, as they hate each other. But the crown jewel, in my opinion, of the acquisition department is going to be Garrett Crochet from the White Sox. So the Red Sox get a White Sox. So they gave up the farm for him too, guys, quite literally, because they got rid of prospects Kyle Teal and Braden Montgomery, who were great prospects for the Red Sox. So you add two great starting pitchers, you add one of the most dominant closers of all time to the rotation, and you add in Alex Bregman. But you lose Nick Pivetta and Tyler O'Neill, who we just talked about, right? Here's the thing, and here's one of the things about the Red Sox that I think that we need to talk about. The Red Sox add Alex Bregman, who's a third baseman. They already have Rafael Devers, one of the best third basemen in the game, on the field and in the lineup. And Devers has gone on record and said he ain't giving up third base. Now, luckily, Alex Bregman is amenable to play wherever that he's needed. The great thing, though, the designated hitter spot, I could see Bregman going into the DH spot maybe, or maybe even playing a little bit of corner, the other corner of the infield at first base. That might be something that could happen. I don't know. We'll see what happens when it all shakes out. Now, the AL pennant-winning New York Yankees, one of the best teams in baseball last year. They go out and make some key acquisitions. They go and get Max Fried, 8 years, $218 million. They want to strengthen their rotation alongside Garrett Cole. Well, you know what sucks, guys? Garrett Cole's getting Tommy John surgery, so Max Fried's the ace this year, in my opinion. Just got announced today, actually, that Garrett Cole's going to undergo Tommy John surgery. We wish the best for him because Tommy John is not the easiest to come back from. But Max Fried is going to be a huge addition. In addition to Devin Williams, he was traded from the Milwaukee Brewers for Nestor Cortez. Nestor Cortez got traded for him, and Nestor Cortez was a huge part of the Yankees rotation last year. Caleb Durbin and cash considerations were also given to go get Devin Williams. And that's going to be really, really interesting to see because the Yankees seem to have a renewed interest in bolstering that bullpen. And then you go out and you get 2 big bats in Cody Bellinger and Paul Goldschmidt. Now, Goldschmidt's older than dirt, and his numbers were down big time last year, but he did get a 1-year, $12 million deal. The Yankees probably believe that he still has a little bit in the tank in situational hitting against left-handed pitchers, or maybe in that DH role. But also getting Cody Bellinger, who was signed to the Chicago Cubs last year. They traded Cody Poteet, I believe his name is. So Cody Poteet isn't necessarily like one of the top prospects in baseball, but he was an arm that the Yankees could have used as their bullpen and starting rotation gets more expensive. Cody Bellinger will probably platoon with Anthony Volpe out there and make a formidable 1-2 punch at first base. It's going to be really interesting to see because they also lose, like I said, Nestor Cortez. They lost Jose Trevino. He got traded to the Reds, and then Taylor Trammell got traded to the Houston Astros. So you got your additions and your subtractions, and you lose Garrett Cole for the season, but you're also probably gonna not be with Giancarlo Stanton to start the year, who's one of the best power hitters in baseball. He's undergoing the PRP therapy, the platelet replacement right now, to avoid elbow surgery. So hopefully that all works out for him. I really hope so because I really like Giancarlo Stanton. Him and Aaron Judge form a very formidable outfield. And Alex Verdugo out there also does some nice stuff too. So that Yankees outfield's pretty stacked, but without having Stanton, I wonder if this 2025 iteration of Murderers Row is going to be as successful. So they significantly enhanced their roster, and they're aiming to build on their 2024 successes, which is what every team is hoping to do. Even if you had a shitty season, you still had successes, and that's what every team is predicated on going into the 2025 season. Build on your successes, right? All these newcomers, they're key players that have stuck around. The 2025 World Series title isn't as up for grabs as I think some people believe it is. The Dodgers and the Yankees are still the class of each league, the NL and the AL, with the Yankees respectively being in the class of the AL. But with these injuries, I don't know how the Yankees do this year. And I'm very concerned if they're not performing up to snuff. Does Steinbrenner, Boone, and the rest of the front office brass trade a bunch of people off and start from scratch? So let's go to the Tampa Bay Rays. They used to be called the Devil Rays. Fun fact. Fun team. So the Rays had a pretty interesting offseason, guys. And I have a lot of notes on that. So the Rays are facing some significant obstacles. Hurricane Milton caused substantial damage to Tropicana Field, and it forced the team to relocate temporarily. So they are going to play their home games at Steinbrenner Field, resulting in a front-loaded home schedule. This is going to really play a huge part in how the team is having the fans engaged, because it's very home-loaded in the front end, and then in the back end, it's a lot of away games. So it's not that good mix. I wonder how successful that's going to be. Off-field issues. Stu Sternberg is under pressure from baseball commissioner Rob Manfred and fellow owners to sell the team due to concerns over potential withdrawal from a stadium deal in St. Petersburg. Failure to proceed with the stadium plan by March 31st could lead to reduced revenue sharing funds, and nobody wants that with the way that the CBA is structured. Several groups, including one led by former Yankees minority owner Joe Malloy, have shown interest in purchasing the team, with plans to continue the stadium project if the acquisition occurs. So the Rays don't just have to contend with other teams this year. They have to contend with interpersonal and inter-office issues, which is never fun. Never fun. You're talking about a team that's home was decimated by a force of nature, an act of God. And now you have to worry about something that wasn't even your fault. How can we keep the fans engaged? Now we have to do this, or we could lose revenue sharing. We might not have Stu around anymore. What the fuck? But the Rays had a pretty low-key offseason. And really, Jackson Baumeister, he was acquired last season in a trade that Zach Eflin got traded for him. But really, outside of a couple international signings, there really haven't been a lot of influx of talent to the Rays. Really, Phil Maton was the biggest departure. And that was in July of last year. They didn't really do anything this offseason. They, like I said, they signed some international players. I don't know how they can continue to be competitive in the American League East when all these other teams have gone out and done the business that they're supposed to do, right? And speaking of business that's supposed to be done, we move on to a very interesting situation in Toronto with the Toronto Blue Jays. So the Blue Jays, very, very active this offseason. They went out and got Max Scherzer. That was one of the first signings of free agency. Max Scherzer, one of the greatest pitchers of the last 10 years. He signs with the Toronto Blue Jays. And then Anthony Santander from the Baltimore Orioles signs with the Blue Jays. And why do they do this? Because there's a big storyline in Toronto. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Now, some of you guys who might be newer to baseball, you might not know who this kid is, but Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is one of the best hitting, fielding, all-around players in baseball. His dad, Vladimir Guerrero, who played for the Expos and the Angels and the Orioles, Vlad Sr. was a beast. Vlad Jr. is even better. But his contract is set to expire after this season, and he reportedly sought a 14-year deal valued at less than $600 million, which is significantly lower than Juan Soto's $733 million contract that he signed with the Mets. So the negotiations didn't end in an agreement, leaving his future with the team uncertain. So there's a two-way street to look at this right now. You have Santander and Scherzer coming in to impact the pitching and the hitting, which is going to appease Vlad Jr. because now he finally has people to work with that are competent players. Like Bo Bichette Jr., big drop-off last year. That was super disappointing. But Bichette might return to form, right? It's going to be very interesting to see, do the Blue Jays show Vlad Jr. that they are invested in him and are invested in the team to become competitive again? Only time will tell. I don't think that is going to be the case. I really do believe that Vlad Jr. ends the season somewhere else. I don't believe Vlad Jr. stays in Toronto throughout the season. I think he finds a new home going forward. Now, as we segue out of the American League East and we're going to be going to the American League Central, my question for you guys is, do the Baltimore Orioles, with their additions, their subtractions, their parlay into the international market, do they have enough to win the AL East this year? Or are the Yankees still the supreme kings? So, chat, do the Orioles have enough to win the AL East this year? Once again, we want to shout out K Cuts for his haircuts. Hit him up at 440-661 2221 or KKUTZ official on Instagram. Thank you so much, K Cuts, for all that you do for the community. And now we're going to get into the American League Central, which is the home to our Cleveland Guardians. But we are not going to start with the Guardians. We are going to start with the Chicago White Sox, a dumpster fire, poverty, piece of shit franchise that I can't stand. I don't like them. I think they're atrocious. The White Sox, we don't like them here at the Cut. Sorry, Chicago. Piece of shit dynasty. So the White Sox are entering the 2025 season with significant changes aimed at rebuilding and improving upon their absolute dog shit 2024 performance. They lose Garrett Crochet, their ace pitcher, to the Red Sox. They also lose Yon Moncada, their third baseman. They declined his $25 million club option, making him a free agent and reduced payroll commitments. They go out and they bring in Austin Slater, Mike Tauchman, and Josh Rojas. This was all just made for depth, guys. Like, there's really no significant signing or anything that the White Sox can really hang their hat on. The only thing that the White Sox did was get rid of interim manager Grady Sizemore and bring in veteran manager and former big leaguer Will Venable. I think that was kind of stupid because Grady Sizemore, for the situation that he inherited, I didn't think he did too bad. I think Grady Sizemore is going to be a very good manager in professional baseball. And Will Venable was a great player, and he's been successful in the capacity he's been in, managerial-wise. But a young team like the White Sox, I feel a guy like Grady Sizemore is more in tune with that and would have done better at developing that talent. Grady, absolute legend for the Cleveland baseball team. Number 24. I loved Grady. Grady was my boy. I miss him. Thank you for everything you did for Cleveland baseball. I remember catching a home run of yours right after I graduated high school. It was great. Fausto Carmona pitched that game. It was fantastic. What a time to be alive. There wasn't much to say about the Chicago White Sox, guys, because the Chicago White Sox absolutely suck. So now we're going to head into the Cleveland Guardians. So the Guardians enter the 2025 MLB season with a blend of roster changes and strategic acquisitions that are aimed at building on our 2024 success. The ownership likes to cry poor, and they say that's why a bunch of key players left. We still made moves, but I don't know if it's enough to contend. So we lose Andres Jimenez. We traded him to the Mets. We traded Josh Naylor to the Diamondbacks. And we traded Miles Straub, which I didn't really give a shit about that. Traded him to the Blue Jays. And then we went out and we got John Means, a starting pitcher. We got Jakob Yunis, a relief pitcher. Luis Frias, another relief pitcher. We went and got Carlos Santana for a third time. He's old as shit. And we brought Tyler Naquin back to be a pitcher. So we gave up a lot of bat just to bolster our bullpen and starting rotation. And, you know, you can never count out the Guardians because they have such an amazing bullpen and rotation. Let's look at this, guys. Tanner Bybee, breakout star last year. Gavin Williams, promising talent. Shane Bieber, back from surgery. Emmanuel Clase. I maintain he's the best closer in the game. Even though he had a meltdown during the playoffs last year, still the best closer in the game. And then Jose, Jose. Just missed out on the 40-40 club last season. He was the team's MVP. Should have been the MVP of all of baseball last year and was robbed. I don't think you can count the Guardians out yet. We did strengthen our pitching staff, but losing Naylor and losing Andres Jimenez is huge. Now, I understand that we have young prospects like Brian Rocchio. I know that we have Chase DeLauder. I know Kyle Manzardo. But when you are a team that was within an ass hair of making it to the World Series, it's just very hard for me to accept that losing these bets and clubhouse favorites is a smart thing to do, because it's not. I understand you're getting back one of the best pitchers when healthy in the game in Shane Bieber, but you have to score runs to win games. You don't win a game if it's 0-0, right? Like, and to be honest with you, we're not going to pitch a shutout every night, even though we probably could. I mean, we're fucking beasts. But the problem I'm having, guys, with all of this is, how do the Guardians reconcile all the great things that they did last year, allow so much talent to willingly walk, and then say, hey, it's going to be okay. We went out and signed a bunch of pitching, but we didn't sign any hitting. Carlos Santana isn't a signing for hitting. It's a depth piece. He's not a power hitter anymore. It's very hard for me to understand. We are aiming to remain competitive in the AL Central. I do still think we'll be competitive in the AL Central, but I don't necessarily think that means that we win it. Because now we segue to the Detroit Tigers, who came on big time and made the wild card last year, but also went out and signed Gleyber Torres, a 1-year, $15 million contract. He was not happy with the Yankees, especially the Yankees went out and got Jazz Chisholm last year, which really cut into Gleyber Torres' efficiency and what he does best. So then, you know, you have Gleyber, you have Tariq Skubal, you go and get John Brebbia. You lose Alex Fido, Mason Englert, and Devin Sweet, but the additions that you've added, especially Torres, and especially having Tariq Skubal, who should have been the Triple Crown winner this past year, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Detroit remains competitive. I think Detroit's the most improved team in the American League Central right now, with the signing of Gleyber Torres and John Brebbia. They are... They have some other guys. They have some young guys. Gone are the days of Maglio Ordonez and Miggy Cabrera, Prince Fielder, you know, the old guard, right? In Detroit. Now you're seeing a real big youth movement. And the one thing about the Tigers is they know how to draft players and develop them. They're just like the Guardians. The only thing is that the Tigers are more willing to retain their talent than the Guardians are, and then make a big splash later, like Gleyber Torres, right? So it's going to be really interesting to see. I think that the Tigers are my pick for the most improved team in the American League Central. And then you go down to one of the weaker teams, in my opinion, the Kansas City Royals. So they finished with an 86-win season last year. They got a wild card berth, but they swept the Orioles, but they lost... they lose to the Yankees. They get Michael Lorenzen. They get Carlos Estevez. They get Jonathan India and Joey Weimer. Jonathan India is a great player. He's very versatile. They got Tommy Pham and they got Bobby Witt Jr. But the organization is so trash ran that I don't know if I can ever feel comfortable calling the Royals a good team, because they're just simply not. I don't think the Royals are going anywhere fast. They, at the first sign of trouble, they start trading all these motherfuckers off. I don't know what else you want me to say. The Royals are a poverty franchise, just like the White Sox. They don't deserve to be in the American League. And that's, of course, all hyperbole, guys. I recognize that they're a great team. The hate with the Royals with me runs deep. I don't think that the Royals did enough to improve. I think that they are going to regress a touch. I don't think they touch 80 wins. I think they touch about 79, 81. And that's like, I think their absolute ceiling. I could be wrong. But then you go to the Minnesota Twins, who finished 82-80 last year, and they end up getting Harrison Bader. Harrison Bader is one of the best defensive players in baseball. Danny Colombe, one of the best left-handed relievers in the sport. And Thiago Cartaya, a catcher who is just a depth piece, but a great depth piece to have. A great depth piece to have. Now, they did lose Max Kepler. They lost Carlos Santana and Caleb Thielber. The American League Central is one of the most blue-collar, hardworking, bootstrap divisions in baseball. It really reflects those Midwest values, right? The league from top to bottom is very even this year, unlike that we've ever seen before. And as a result of that, my question for you guys is, has the AL Central become the most competitive division in the AL? Has the AL Central become the most competitive division in the American League? Every team is very evenly matched with each other, top to bottom, outside of the White Sox. The White Sox are just trash and atrocious. I fucking hate the White Sox. But when you look, Guardians, Tigers, Royals, Twins, those teams right there pose such a serious threat to each other that the division could be within 3 games towards the end of the season. It could be that close. You could see 3 teams in the American League Central make the playoffs, in my opinion. I don't know, but I really think that you could. I really think that you could. So let me know either in the chat or send me a message or post on our Facebook. Has the AL Central become the most competitive division in the American League? I want to know, because in my opinion, it absolutely is. It's the most competitive division in baseball. And we're going to finish the night out with the American League West. And I got a lot of shit to say about the American League West. The former Oakland Athletics, now the Sacramento Athletics because of circumstance. In 2025, the Athletics are going to be playing their home games at Sutter Health Park in West Sacramento, California. They're going to be sharing a home with the River Cats, which is their minor league affiliate. So that's going to happen this year, next year, and the year after, because in 2028, the Athletics are heading to Vegas. So for the next couple of years, unfortunately, that town of Sacramento has to endure the Oakland Athletics, who I think have cheaper ownership than the Guardians. I didn't know that was fucking possible. But they did do some shit that was a little out of character this offseason, and they they spent some money, because they went out and they got the guy right here in the photo, Luis Severino. On December 6th, they signed him to the largest deal in franchise history and even included player options. Oh, Nick Pay coming in here. The East is still better. They have a lot of star power that can carry teams where the Central has to rely on top to bottom of their rosters. Hey, Nick, I'm going to counter that with I believe the Central's better because you have to go top to bottom on the roster. You have to go top to bottom on the roster with the AL Central teams. The East, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a more top-heavy roster, like especially like you look at like the Yankees, right? You got Giancarlo Stanton, you got Alex Verdugo, you got Anthony Volpe. You went out and got Max Fried. You got Garrett Cole. You got Carlos Rondon. You got those guys, right? So you got that star power in the name. And you got, and who could forget Aaron Judge? And then like the Red Sox, you got Bregman, Rafi Devers. Unfortunately, AL Central doesn't have that type of ability to attract star power. So you have to do that workman type thing and really grind it out and use your farm teams and still win like 90 something games, right? And I think that that's just a touch more impressive. I see where you're coming from, buddy. I see what you're saying, and I respect it. I respect exactly what you're saying. But I think it's a bit more tough of a division when you have to rely on your whole roster top to bottom rather than just your stars. Anthony, give me some insight. What do you think about that?
Yeah, don't ask me, bro. I don't follow baseball like that.
Correct. But if you're looking, what's a tougher division? Is the division tougher when you have a bunch of star power that's winning you games? Or is a division tougher when all the teams have rosters that they have to rely on top to bottom rather than just stars?
I mean, I would say that depending on the division, which division is tougher would depend on how equally matched each of those teams are in that division. If they're all pretty equally matched, it's going to be a tough division to play in because you got to try really friggin' hard to be better than the team that's just as good as you.
Correct. And, you know, I think we're seeing now in baseball, now more than ever, teams are very equal. Even the teams that aren't spending a lot of money, they're developing their players so well. And you're seeing that a lot in the American League because of the designated hitter that had been around forever. The NL just recently introduced the notion of the designated hitter full time. So now you're really seeing the American League cultivating more of a top to bottom approach with also developing in the farm system. Contrasting with someone like the Dodgers who are just going out and signing fucking everybody, which is crazy. So the Athletics get TJ McFarland, Luis Severino, who we just talked about, Jeffy Springs and Jacob Lopez, Jose Leclerc. All of those guys, they went out and got pitchers, right? But they didn't stop there because they got one of my favorite Indians of all time, Gio Urshela, on the team. They went and signed Gio Urshela, 1-year contract, and then they went and they got Larry Butler back. And Larry Butler signed a 7-year, $66.5 million deal. He had a .262 average and 22 home runs last year for an otherwise anemic Athletics offense. So God bless Larry Butler for coming back and doing what he needs to do. And, you know, the Athletics are in a transitional period, but the moves that they made finally show a commitment to winning and stabilizing a pitching staff while in this transitional period of their franchise. So you're going to see, even though they're not at home and they don't have a permanent home anymore, now you're going to see these guys try to attract more fans because they're going to show, hey, we're willing to spend this money, and now we have to be willing to spend this money because in 2028 we're going to be in Vegas. So we have to change the identity of who we are now so that when we go to Vegas, fans are already accustomed to what we're doing. They see the new direction that we're going in, and now we can start to attract more free agents because Oakland is right where the Warriors play for basketball, right? That's where the Raiders were for years. Oakland isn't a small market. Oakland should be able to attract anyone they fucking want. But ownership always was so hesitant to do that. Guys, Moneyball started in Oakland because they let Giambi, they let Isringhausen, they let all these guys walk, so they needed, because they couldn't afford them, so they needed to figure out a way to do it. They let Giambi go to the Yankees, the Isringhausen go to the Cardinals, and they had to replicate it. So that was their identity for years. Now they might be eschewing that identity to really go out and attract people, because when them bright lights hit you in Vegas, it hits different. It fucking hits different. So they need to be able to show the willingness to spend and change their identity now so they can reap these benefits when they go to Vegas later. And the Astros. Fuck the Astros, dude. I don't even want to talk about them, but I have to. The Astros are a cheating bunch of assholes. And I'm so happy that Bregman left the Astros. I'm so happy that they overpaid massively for Christian Walker. 3 years, $60 million. He's 30 years old. Yeah, he's got a bunch of gold gloves, but he's old. He ain't worth $20 million a year anymore. Kyle Tucker. They gave up Isaac Paredes, Hayden Wesneski, and Cam Smith for Kyle Tucker. That's a massive overpay. So happy about that. They got rid of Ryan Presley. Great pitcher to get a prospect. And Framber Valdez. Valdez is on the last year of his contract, and he ain't going nowhere quick in terms of getting a new contract. In fact, this franchise is so atrocious right now. They're putting former Gold Glove, Silver Slugger Jose Altuve mainly in left field now. And I feel bad for Altuve because while he was at the center of the cheating scandal, I always liked the way he played. I thought that he was a good player still. But you're moving one of your legends of your franchise to a position he doesn't really play. So it really bothers me that they have the balls to do this stuff and still carry themselves like they're the cream of the walk of the AL West, because they simply aren't. The Astros moves really make me question if they're committed to staying relevant in the AL West. Because you get rid of Kyle Tucker, you get rid of Alex Bregman, those are your hitters, man. And you're bringing in, just like the Guardians did, you're bringing in pitching, but you don't have the luxury of the farm system full of hitters like the Guardians do to replicate the success, right? Because you're trading off these infield or these fielding players, these hitters, to get pitching, whereas the Guardians are doing the opposite. They're signing pitching, and then they're getting rid of hitting for hitting as well. So I question if the Astros remain competitive. And we go to the Angels. The 2025 season, they seem to have a sense of optimism, and I don't know why. Anthony Rendon isn't doing so hot. Mike Trout's hurt again. They're moving Mike Trout to a different position in the outfield. They got Jorge Soler. He hit 48 homers once. Yoan Moncada, he's a switch hitter. Tim Anderson was good 5 years ago. He was a shortstop for the White Sox and got knocked the fuck out by Jose Ramirez when Jose slid in. Travis Darnaud, he's a depth piece. Kyle Hendricks, he's all right. Kevin Newman's all right. But Yusei Kikuchi, that was pretty crazy. He's a left-handed pitcher. He posted on the international market, and the Angels went and signed him. I think it's going to be more of the same of like what happened with Shohei Ohtani. The Angels go and get him, develop him a little bit, and then he goes right to the Dodgers. It's really funny because you at one time had Mike Trout, Albert Pujols, and Shohei Ohtani, and you didn't do dick with any with those guys on the roster. in 20 years, our kids are going to be playing a version of MLB The Show, and the legends are going to come out, and they're going to put Pool House Shohei and Mike Trout on a team together and be like, wow, wouldn't this have been crazy if they played on a team together in real life? Well, it happened, and they never did anything with it. The Angels go make big splashes and they make big signings, but they never do anything with it. Soler, Moncada, Tim Anderson, those guys are going to try and rejuvenate the offense that ranked like 27th in on-base average, which is some of the lowest in all of baseball. But I don't know how do I put this? I don't know how the Angels reconcile with themselves that they are going to have anything more than a 75-win season, because they don't know how to go out there and field a team in the right spots. Mike Trout got hurt a lot in center field. They want to move him to right field. Understood. But why don't you just move Mike Trout to DH? Let him hit. He's cooked in the outfield. He's had too many surgeries. He's had too many injuries. Let Mike Trout cook in the DH spot. Go out there and sign some actual talent. Develop your minor league players, and then maybe you'll have a shot. The Angels are rinse and repeat every year. This isn't fucking Joseph Gordon-Levitt and the Angels in the outfield, man. Danny Glover ain't your fucking manager, and you ain't seeing Angels come down from heaven to help you win the pennant. It just isn't happening. You're not doing enough to be competitive in Major League Baseball. You're making splash signings like it's MLB The Show, and then you're controlling it. That is not how actual baseball is played. That's not how actual baseball ever has been played, and it's not how actual baseball should be managed. Jorge Soler, I kind of was like, what? When he signed with him? Him, Anthony Rendon, Mike Trout, hopefully they can turn it around, but I don't see it. And we're going to close out our show tonight with the last two teams. We got the Seattle Mariners. They just narrowly missed out. They got Donovan Solano. They got Blake Hunt and Miles Mastrobuoni in separate trades, and those guys are catchers. And then they got Will Klein and Hagen Danner. They got Luis Castillo, Robbie Ray, George Kirby, Logan Gilbert, Marco Gonzalez. Andres Munoz is still one of the best closers in the game. They had a team batting average of 224 last year. Absolutely awful, right? They're projected to win 88 games this year. Julio Rodriguez needs to live up to the contract that he signed and be an actual leader for these guys. I believe Randy Aranaza, is going to crack the everyday rotation. You can definitely see an improvement. I don't necessarily think that they can compete with the Rangers, who made some pretty crazy moves this offseason. But they have some key events coming up. On August 9th of this year, number 51 is going to be retired in honor of Ichiro Suzuki. And they're scheduled to play the New York Mets in the MLB Little League Classic on August 17th in Williamsport, right before the Little League World Series, or not right before, but as the MLB season starts clearing out. That'll be awesome. And 2025 is going to be a pivotal season for the Mariners. A lot of homegrown talent, a lot of acquisitions. Their pitching staff and Julio Rodriguez are going to be crucial in determining their postseason aspirations. I don't see it. I think that they are one of the most competitive teams in the AL West. But my pick to come out of the AL West is the Texas Rangers. They had a rough 2024. They had World Series success the year before, and then they fell to 78 and 84. They go get Nathan Eovaldi. They still have John Gray. They got Roki Sasaki, another Japanese pitcher that they got from the international market. And then they go out and get Jock Peterson and Jake Burger. They still got Jacob deGrom. They still got Corey Seager. They still got Wyatt Langford, who had a very promising rookie season. It's going to be a significant rebound for the Rangers. I think that the Rangers come out of the AL this year. I think the Rangers come out of the AL this year and are the representatives for the World Series for the American League. I think that the Rangers have enough talent that's homegrown and go out and post in, and they go out and post a winning record and they destroy the competition. And my question for you guys regarding the AL West is, even though I'm picking the Rangers, will the AL West ever see the Angels finish at the top of the division again? Is it ever going to happen? I don't think it will. The Angels are not a well-run franchise. They're awful. I can't see it. So we went through all the teams in the American League. I think the division winner for the AL East is going to be the Boston Red Sox this year. I think the AL Central winner is going to be the Detroit Tigers. And I think the AL West is going to be won by the Texas Rangers. I could see the Guardians, and I could see the Yankees contending for the wild card spots. I could also see a couple other things happening. I could see, I hate saying it, but I could see the Astros sneaking in there as well. The American League is a very interesting league because there's so much turnover outside of the Yankees that it's really hard to say year to year. Now, I'm wearing my Guardians jersey. I got my Tristan Sticks McKenzie jersey on back here that I bought while I was hammered when the Guardians played the Pirates last year while I was sitting in the drink seats. It was awesome. I'm really excited to see what happens in the American League this year. Thank you guys for joining us this evening. Next week, we will not be having a show on Monday. The show will be happening on Tuesday, the 18th of March. So March 18th, we will be having our next show, which will hopefully be the National League preview, dependent on if anything else crazy happens in football, basketball, MMA, anything like that. I want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. I want to thank K Cuts again. Hit K Cuts up for any type of hairstyling, haircut that you need. 440-661-2221. Tell them that Anthony and Tom from The Cut sent you, so you can go get your cut from K Cuts. Again, thank you guys very much for joining us this evening. Before we leave tonight, I just want to thank everyone for rocking with us for the past, what seems 3 years now. It's been absolutely awesome doing this for you guys every week. We definitely appreciate the support. We want to get a more...
If you support us, share us. Definitely. Share us. Share the channel.
Thank you, Anthony.
Did I steal your thunder, Tom?
You took the words right out of my mouth.
I mean, it just, yeah.
That was awesome.
I see where you're going, bro. I'm with you. I was thinking the same thing.
Must have been while you were
if you follow us, share us. That's the only way we're going to grow. Otherwise, people aren't going to know we're out here.
Yeah, it's the only way we're going to grow, guys. And we have a lot of plans this year to do some fun stuff. And we want to do the fun stuff for an audience. We fucking love doing it, but we want other people to see it. So I really would love if you guys could engage with us. Send us a message. Send us what you'd like to see us talk about. If you've got a breaking news tip, if you heard a rumor, message us on Facebook. We reply. If you want to get a business shout out, share our page, support us, and tell us that you would like to be shouted out, and we'll see what we can do to shout you guys out. I ain't against shouting out 20 businesses a fucking show. You guys are grinding, trying to make your dreams grow. Help us make our dreams grow, right? Thank you guys so much for joining us into The Cut again this evening. It was a pleasure. We'll see you next Tuesday at 7:30. Have a great evening. Be blessed. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Take care of yourselves. Love yourselves. Have a great night.